Hello everybody, good morning, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news as we face a bit of a concern around Ugarte, an illness which has come out and not really been picked up ahead of this preview. Well, this is not a preview, ahead of this game against Southampton. Also, Angel Gomes talks about a return to Manchester United. Also, Cristiano Ronaldo has released more comments about Manchester United, and Casemiro is apparently very, very unhappy at Manchester United for three big reasons. What can we do about that? The transfer window is closed. What do we do with Casemiro? Well, by the sounds of it with Ugarte, we're probably going to start him against Southampton on Saturday lunchtime. So lots to get into on the show this morning. For a Thursday morning, we've actually got quite a lot of interesting stuff coming out directly from Ugarte, directly from Gomes, directly from Ronaldo, from Casemiro as well. But talking about returns from Gomes and talking about GOATs from Ronaldo, we have got the return of a potential GOAT at midday today. Driving with Goldbridge is back. The last time I did one of these was January. I'm probably the only one who's seen it because I've edited it. There's one little clip on my Twitter from last night about horses, which I actually thought was quite funny, even though I said it. Links in the live chat. Subscribe. It's dropping at midday. If you're watching this after midday, the link will be in the live chat to go and support it. If you've never seen it, then get involved. Abel, I'm going to block you, but I'm not even going to shout out what you said as well. You're an absolute turd, mate. An absolute turd. You won't get read out for it. You won't get your fame. You'll just get called a turd and told you're blocked. Right, let's move on. Let's talk about, remember the news show? It's a news show, so we're reacting to the news. If you want something more topical discussion, you will get that, but we are reacting to news on a morning show at 10 o'clock. So here we go. Get out, says Savage. Good one. Right, so we're going to talk about Ugarte. Somebody in the chat just said, no news as usual, same old, same old. I mean, I despair. I mean, literally everything we're talking about has not been spoken about before because it's news. So I didn't know about this until about an hour ago. I don't know how I missed it yesterday, but this actually came in from Ugarte after the Uruguay game. He's played through illness with Uruguay against Venezuela ahead of his debut potentially for Manchester United on Saturday. Basically said he was suffering from a fever before the game. In the 24 hours leading up to the game, he was suffering from a fever. He said, I feel a bit down now, but after the game, he said, I feel a bit down now again, but I did feel fine during the match despite the heat, said Ugarte, who obviously has got a big flight back, and after the game against Venezuela, was obviously still suffering with this fever. Now, I can't speak. I don't know what to say about this because I'm like, can we hide this article from Eric Ten Hag, who picks people off a laptop anyway when it comes to fitness? I mean, I just don't think it, we've got a bit of a poll. Will he start? 61% of you. Don't worry, I'm not crying. I feel like it. 61% of you, will he start on Saturday? I think that's a brave, I think you're brave. I think you're brave to think he will start. Should he start? Yes. Will he start? This worries me. I'm with Jake Harrison on this. Definitely not starting now. I think Isaac says health over football. Of course. Mad Max says it's over. I can't believe we missed this last night. He actually said this after the game against Venezuela. So Ugarte suffering with a fever for 24 hours before the game, played the game, felt okay, but afterwards felt down again. He's now got a massive flight. He probably only is at Carrington today. The match is on Saturday lunchtime. I think Casemiro is dancing in his garden with his top in the air going, whoop, 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 whoop. I'm starting because with a different manager, maybe Ugarte plays. Look, I know in the past, there's countless stories of people like Roy Keane and Ryan Giggs and Cristiano Ronaldo playing when they were ill the day before. Famously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer picked Harry Maguire against Leicester when Harry Maguire hadn't trained at all. And it was a bloody nightmare. But I think that if you want my answer, and you're going to get it, will Ugarte start on Saturday? I think he absolutely has to. But I'm very worried about it now. I mean, I think it would have been, even if he was Iron Man, even if he swam back from Uruguay and then ran an Ironman in an Ironman suit and then did arm wrestling with the whole team and then was doing press-ups with Ten Hag saying, pick me, look, I'm not even sweating. Ten Hag would be there going, computer says no, huh? So I still, even then, even if he was super fit, I still think he'd go, Manchester United, the laptop, Casemiro, batteries not run out yet. You new batteries, yeah. You bring the fight, yeah. But you sit on the bench, yeah. Casemiro, he trophies, batteries not run out. So I think that I always have to bring comedy into it when I'm feeling stressed. You might have picked out on it. So yeah, I stick with what I said on the show last night about being conflicted, but I have to follow this path. We have to win on Saturday, but yeah, we have to see something new. We can't just play Southampton with the same old shit. We have to see something new. We've got to see a vision. We've got to see, it can't be there at 3 o'clock. Oh, we beat Southampton 2-0 and we weren't that good. We've got to see a vision now. Ugarte has to come straight into that team. But, he is apparently has some sort of fever. I just think this is absolutely perfect for him to be on the bench now, which hopefully won't happen. But look, we can only bring you the news on that, and it could be an issue for the game at the weekend. Hopefully not, but it certainly could be because, as I said, he will probably be back training today and assessed for the game on Saturday. There's a lot of players that have done a lot of travelling as well. Garnacho will be in the same position. Martinez will be in the same position. But look, I'm just so desperate for him to start this game, to be honest with you. You know what I'm tired of? What I'm tired of is there's always tomorrow. There's always tomorrow. Computer says no today, but it'll be back tomorrow. And it's like, there is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. That's from a film. There is no... Yeah, it's Apollo Creed in Rocky 3 to Rocky. There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. And that's a training sequence. There is no tomorrow. There's only today. We can't go into the Southampton game saying, well, we should have Ugarte back for the Crystal Palace game. Now fucking get him in now. Get him in now. I can't be dealing with this tomorrow shit anymore. I understand when it's injury. I understand Rasmus probably won't play. We know Luke Shaw won't play. We know Mason Mount won't play. We know Yoro won't play. But these players need to be got. He's played 90 minutes for Uruguay. Start him and then take him off if he's tired at half time. But start, what did we say in the preview? You've got to start with something special. You've got to start from minute one. You've got to go on the B of the bang. And for me, you start him. You start him, and then if he's struggling, you take him off. But you don't put him on the bench, for me. Tomorrow never comes. Yeah, as Ronan Keating once sang. He will start, just needs some H2O, says BG. And hi from Iceland, Mark. Would love a live show here. Big community, says Johnson. I would love to do a live show in Iceland. That would be absolutely fantastic. Just picking up on that midfield position, though, we're going to talk about what Angel Gomes has said, because he said he would like to return to Manchester United. Cristiano Ronaldo has some other comments as well, and obviously we'll read into some of yours. Will Ten Hag stay if we lose to Southampton, says Abdul. I don't want that scenario, mate, but if we lose 3-0... Well, you've asked me a direct question. I'll give you a direct answer. If we lose 3-0 to Southampton at the weekend, unless there are massive mitigating circumstances, I don't think he'd be manager for Barnsley, no. I don't. I actually had a dream last night that Van Nistelrooy had the job. But that doesn't mean anything. But no, I don't think he'd survive a 3-0 beating by Southampton. Not unless something ridiculously bad luck happened, like VAR or something like that prompted the 3-0. I think he'd struggle. I think he's really struggled to stay in a job if he got beat 3-0 by Southampton. But look, I don't know what INEOS' plan is, honestly, but you asked me an honest question, I'll give you an honest answer. Anyway, let me move on. Casemiro. Now, I don't know where these reports are coming from. It's the Manchester Evening News again, so it could be their arse, or it could be they've heard it from somewhere else, but they haven't sourced where these reports are coming from. But there's a story today in the Manchester Evening News saying that from reports suggest that Casemiro is very unhappy at the moment, and this is around three things. First of all, he feels that he has been singled out for, the blame, certainly after the Liverpool game. Secondly, the signing of Ugarte and everyone's saying he's going to be on the bench. And third of all, if he's dropped at the weekend, apparently this is going to make him feel even worse. I think that, well, I don't know. What are your thoughts on those three things that he's unhappy about? It feels he's been singled out, not happy about Ugarte coming in, and won't be happy if he's dropped at the weekend. I mean, I sort of want to go, who do you think you are? Like, you've not been singled out. You cost us 2 goals, mate, against our biggest rivals in our own backyard. It was embarrassing, and you caused it. So I don't think you've been singled out. I think you are to blame that we were 2-0 down at half-time. Ugarte coming in is because Amrabat's left, and you are the only holding midfielder we've got. And we're not buying bench players for a 32-year-old. We need to buy starters. So grow up. Who do you think you are? And third of all, you'll not be happy if you dropped at the weekend. Who do you think you are? What do you think happens when you put a Man United shirt on and you wipe your arse with it in a performance level? You get dropped. So I don't believe the story like Jake Harrison says, because, again, it just feels like the second time in a week that Casemiro has been targeted from reports that I don't know where they're from, or dressing room sources that I don't believe. I would imagine that Casemiro is very unhappy, but I doubt his unhappiness is because he's been singled out. I doubt his unhappiness is because we bought Ugarte, and I doubt his unhappiness is going to get worse if he gets dropped. Really, because he's a professional. And it's interesting, actually, because in contrast to that, I was reading an article with Will Fish in The Athletic, and he was saying that his opinion of Casemiro was this, and again, 3 things that he said about him, really. He said that I trained with him ahead of the season for the US tour. His professionalism is unparalleled. He's always there in the gym, first and last. His anticipation on the pitch is razor sharp. And his mannerisms and leadership are, a testament to what he's done in his career. So I was like, well, you've got 2 really big contrasts here. You've got a player like Will Fish, who is a real person. He's not a dressing room source. He's not a report. He's a real person giving a real interview about Casemiro's professionalism and quality. And then you've got a story about basically throwing his toys out the pram because he's being blamed and all this, that and the other. And he will be unhappy. What we've got here with Casemiro is a question about what we do with him. Because I agree with Will Fish, the player's quality, professionalism and attitude are there to speak in his Wikipedia page based on what he's done. But his performances over the last 6 months are also there for you to go back and watch. At times it's felt like it's sabotage. I personally just think we're moving more and more towards age, drop off. The mind is willing, but the body's not giving. I think that's what's happening with Casemiro. I think most of the battles he's going through are probably going through his head. Not being able to make that pass anymore, not being able to make that recovery run anymore, being late to the tackle. You can just sort of see the sabotage and breakdown of his own game. So I don't think that we need to be. Look, I literally was having this chat with somebody this morning after dropping Seb for school, and we were talking about the De Ligt thing. And this person I was speaking to, well, I won't give their age away, but they're older than me, and but what I'm saying is they're around my age, so they know the old days, the 90s, etc. And they were basically saying it's quite worrying actually when you look at your show and you look on social media about how some people want to throw De Ligt under the bus when he's had a bad game for the Netherlands, but he's only just been signed for us. We just don't behave like this as a football club, as a fan base. We just don't do this. It's not who we are. If anything, we wrap these people up and protect them from the external people who are trying to break them down. I was saying absolutely exactly. I completely agree. But what do we do with Casemiro? What do we do with Casemiro? Because Casemiro is not De Ligt. He's not Mazraoui. He's not Xerxes. They need patience. They need protection. Casemiro's been here for 2 years. He's also won a lot of things at the highest level with Real Madrid. But we can't sell him. He's our biggest earner. Do we throw him on the scrap heap and just ridicule him? Or do we try and find something that makes him work for us for the next season? Because that's how long he's going to be here unless something happens in January. And I think we have to find a way for him to work, because if we don't, then I think that we're just slagging off a player that has to be a large part, has to play games between now and Christmas at the very least. He will start at least one of the next 2 games, whether it's Barnsley, or Crystal Palace, or both. So we need to find a happy medium with Casemiro, because just saying he's shit is not going to help. If he plays a game and he's shit, then he'll get that analysis for the next few days after the game and the match ratings and everything like that. But we've got to find a place for Casemiro. And yeah, we've also got to be very wary of the fact that these stories about Casemiro throwing his toys out the pram and, not taking responsibility and not being happy about Ugarte coming in, these are toxic stories. And I choose to not believe them, because I don't think it helps to have that negativity around a player that may well start on Saturday and still has a role to play at the football club. I just think with Casemiro that he's a player that is on the decline. But I agree with Diego, who says definitely play with an Ugarte Casemiro pivot at hard away games like the Etihad and the Emirates. And we've spoken about that before. So I think Casemiro's still got a role to play. I basically don't say... I mean, Gerald says time is up for him. Scott says Casemiro is a victim of age, but I think the system just highlights his age as well. Yeah, I think in a pivot it can work, but I wouldn't be throwing Casemiro on the scrap heap. I think we need to, hope that we can find a role for him over the next few months where he can still be a valuable part of our squad. Van just says De Ligt gave out to him and Martinez before the mistakes for the goals. He obviously couldn't take it. He collapsed shortly after, says Vanya. Is there a chance of a full Glazer sale to INEOS, says Sanil? Not that I'm aware of. And B. Gino says, when you cough up 2 major mistakes last game, you deserve it. If he's worried about Ugarte, clearly his confidence is shot. I doubt he's leaking this, says B. I 100% agree with that. Abhijit says, Ronaldo claims great managers have played the game, but Sir Alex never played for a top club. Timing the release before a press conference seems like an attempt to spark a media pylon onto Eric Ten Hag, says Abhijit. We'll talk about what Ronaldo had to say a little bit, because obviously the embargo is over now, so we can talk about everything that he said. But he basically has... Ronaldo seems to have this obsession that you need to have played the game and to be a good manager, and you need to have played for Man United to help them get back to where they need to be. Ronaldo is an absolute legend, and I very rarely sort of go against Ronaldo because he's one of my favourite ever players. But in my opinion, he's wrong on that. Sir Alex Ferguson did play football and was quite a good striker. Pep Guardiola played for Barcelona at a very good level. But Jurgen Klopp, Jose Mourinho, Arsene Wenger, not really much of a career footballing wise. So no, I disagree with that. Of course I do. Argument for subbing in Ugarte from the bench might be we're better at coming back into games than holding a lead. We do bottle a lot, says Alexander. Yeah, but away from home, Alexander. Bad start against Southampton. They score again. You're 2-0 down. The crowd's like bloody bonfire night. We ain't coming back from that. We're not coming back from that. We need to start well. Stephen says, we need a strong start. I'm fed up with the slow starts and having to chase the game in the second half. We need to put the game to bed early. I completely agree. I hated when Gomes left, says Little on Quality, but it showed his desire. Well, look, let me talk to you about this actually, because this is what Angel Gomes had to say. Remember, we were talking about this yesterday after his game for England, and he's out of contract in the summer. Could he be coming back to Manchester United? I sort of said, to be honest with you, it would be a little bit more what's the word? I'm a little bit leaning towards don't bring him back. I said this yesterday because really it just seems a little bit sentimental to me. Finland, with all due respect to anybody who's Finnish, is not a footballing powerhouse. England is. We play Finland at Wembley with England, and Gomes plays well, and suddenly he's the answer to our midfield problems when he's not been the answer for the last 12 months. I've never heard anybody say we should bring Angel Gomes back. So suddenly now, after one game for England against Finland, Gomes should be coming back to Man United to solve our midfield problems. I would still be looking at the names that have been mentioned, the people like Edison, the people like Wharton. I'm not saying we're going to get them, but I don't think that. I agree with Solid Blake. Nobody was talking about Gomes until he got an England call-up. But this is what Gomes had to say. He said, it was a very difficult decision to leave Manchester United. In my heart, I wanted to leave. In my head, I was thinking of staying. But I had to follow my heart. I felt that I needed to take another step in my career. And I thought that's very interesting because people normally say, my heart was saying stay where you love, but my head was saying you need to go. So he was saying that my head was saying stay at Man United, but my heart was saying go. It's normally the other way around. I felt that if I'd stayed, there wouldn't be a lot of opportunities for me. Louis Campos, the Lille sporting director, spoke about their project, and I believed it in even more. That's what convinced me to move, the faith Lille had in me. I think he's absolutely correct. I don't think he was going to get any game time under Ollie, was it? So I think he was right to go. Do I imagine myself coming back one day to United? Obviously, it's home. I would love to come back, but you never know in football. I just have to keep my feet on the ground and keep playing, making the most of it. I can't predict what will happen in the future. So look, there is an openness from Gomes to potentially come back to Manchester United. And I think that, as I say, I'm not opposed to it if United's new structure and recruitment team feel that he is the right guy to come in. I'm not opposed to it. Personally, I'm not really that up for it. I think it's a bit sentimental. I haven't seen enough of Gomes to make me go, he's the solution in the midfield for Manchester United. I think there are better options that we've been linked to that I would prefer at this moment in time. But as I said yesterday, let's keep a watching brief on it. Let's see how he does in future England games, but also it'd be worth keeping an eye on Lille a bit as well. Look, let's wait and see. But it's not like, let's go and get him. It's not like with Sancho a few years ago. I'm not like, let's go and get him. I'm sort of like, it's not an obsession if I'm being completely honest. Mark, have you seen him play at Lille? He's pure class, as Lille on quality. You could say Lille on quality. I think the trouble with the French league, mate, with all due respect, is that it's really hard to gauge what's good in the French league that's going to transpire in the Premier League. I mean, look at Mason Greenwood. He's doing very, very well. And I said that when Mason Greenwood... Go back, clip that up. No one will ever do this because it's too, insightful. When Mason Greenwood went to Marseille, I said, I'm surprised he's gone to Marseille because the Italian league is more competitive and better. And I would have gone to the Italian league. The French league is a little bit of a pub league beyond 4 or 5 teams. But I also said, I can also see why Mason Greenwood's doing it. You go and play for Lazio in Serie A, you're not nowhere near one of the best teams. It's going to be very, very difficult. You might not score many goals. You go and play for Marseille in the French league, you're going to cook. You're going to score a lot of goals. And if this is a stepping stone move to a bigger club, 100% go to Marseille as a striker because you're going to score loads of goals and you're not going to score loads of goals for Lazio in that league. So he's made the right decision. And I said he'd score a lot of goals in the French league because beyond 4 or 5 teams, there's 18 teams in the French league. You are going to cook. You are going to cook. And that's the problem with the French league. Jonathan David still in the French league with 1 year left on his contract. Nobody went for Jonathan David, and yet his goal scoring record is fantastic in the French league and for Canada. So it doesn't mean they're bad players by any means, but you do have to be careful about how good people play in the French league. I mean, Joey Barton was good in the French league. Getting Gomes and not Rabiot is mid-table, says Keel. Is there a chance of a full... I've done that one from Sanil as well. Where's Ugarte, defensive monster, for not making it in the French league, says Alan. And Alan, and I won't skirt over that one. You obviously don't follow Ugarte at PSG because it wasn't about being shit. It was about preference from Enrique, because Ugarte's stats last season are still... Let me just say this to you, Alan, and then we can move on. You say, where's Ugarte, the defensive monster, for not making it in the French league? I say, who was the number 1 midfielder in Europe last season for defensive duels? Ugarte. So, even though Enrique preferred other options, Ugarte still had the most defensive duels than any other midfielder in Europe last season. And there ended the lesson. It wasn't about Ugarte being bad. It was about Ugarte not being the style of player that Enrique wanted, which if you speak to any French journalist or PSG fan, they will back up on that. It's a bit like De Ligt at Bayern. It wasn't about them being a bad player. It was about the coach and what they preferred. Anyway, let me have a look at some other comments. Keep up the good work, man. Hope you have a good weekend and Man United win, says Gerald. Oh, please, please. There can't be anybody that wants us to lose at the weekend. Well, I suppose if you want Ten Hag to get the sack, you might think if he loses, you'll get rid of him. Short-term pain, long-term gain. But I can't deal with that. We've got to get points on the board. Premier League is worse than a pub league, says Shaquille. Yeah, okay. Could say the same about Ugarte, says Jack. I think we've answered that. And Ugarte played, yeah, good. We've spoken about this. A lot of people obviously need to touch grass this morning. Arsenal will be interesting to watch, says CG. And nobody over the age of 25 should do the mic drop thing, says Bike. Mate, stop being ageist. You're not going to like driving with Goldbridge if you're an ageist. Casemiro getting criticised and possibly dropped for poor performances, says Stuart Clark. But Rashford keeps starting. No sense whatsoever. Kobe Mainoo and Ugarte will be played, says Amir. And Ugarte was bad at... Chelsea, you can't even construct a sentence, which is why I'm going to read it for a laugh. Ugarte was bad at Man United. That's why you got him. De Ligt was bad in their German league. That's why you got him. Yeah, you need to go and understand how to write a sentence, mate, because we didn't buy Ugarte from Man United and you don't spell their THR. So your biggest concern in life is learning how to spell, not trying to take on people who know what they're talking about in this live chat. That's tip of the day. Learn to type and then your football knowledge might come through, but you're going to lose every time with inaccuracies like that. Like John Terry in a bloody spelling test, mate. Anyway, can't stand people who want United to lose just to sack the manager, says Ray Carl Brown. Amori. Well, let me just say this. This has just come out from Rob Dawson. Sources close to Manchester United recruitment operation believe that the discipline showed regarding Jared Branthwaite's eventual helped... Sources close to Manchester United's recruitment operation believe that the discipline shown regarding Jared Branthwaite eventually helped get a deal over the line for Ugarte. With PSG holding out for a fixed fee of 50 million, United made a point of referencing their interest in Branthwaite and threatened to walk away just as they had done with Everton. Can we just say that as a community, this is justified? And the reason I've mentioned this is because we spoke about this in late June. There has to be a precedent. There has to be a sacrificial lamb. And we spoke about this in late June. And look, we're not on the board. We're not doing the negotiating, but it's absolutely true. Branthwaite had to be walked away from to set a better future. 100%. You can't just come in as INEOS and go, we aren't going to be taking the piss out of anymore in the transfer market. You actually have to do something to show people that you're not going to have the piss taken out of you anymore. And that's exactly what we did with Branthwaite. Everton went, we want 70 million. And we went, no, we're not going any higher than 50, and that includes add-ons. Well, you won't get him then. Fine, walk away. You really want him? Yes, we do. You need a left-footed centre-back? Yes, we do. You know you want Branthwaite? Yes, we do. And we still walk. We walk because we're not paying stupid prices anymore. So, look, I think there is an element of truth in that we hopefully have come out of this transfer window with a better reputation in the transfer market amongst other clubs and agents, because it was on the floor. It was absolutely on the floor. And we needed to do a hell of a lot to get that reputation back. And we still do. You know, we've still not been able to get rid of everybody, and we still didn't buy everybody. But yeah, 100%, if you want to earn respect in this transfer market, then you have got to show an ability to walk away. Man City have done it. Man City walked away from Alexis Sanchez. They've been chasing him for the previous 8 months. They very nearly got him at the end of the summer transfer window. January transfer window comes round. United fancy a piece of the pie. Man City go, not at that price, and they walk from a player that they really wanted. So it's not a bad thing to walk away from players that you really want sometimes, as long as you do have other options, because I think that with Ugarte, if we'd walked away from that, where would we have gone? But with Branthwaite, we did, of course, have other options, thank God. And I still think we could end up going for back for Branthwaite at some point. Let me talk to you about Cristiano Ronaldo. There's some other quotes that we haven't had from Ronaldo. I think the manager one is probably going to be the one that's going to generate the most conversation. But let's start off with this, talking about his second stint at Man. And can I just say, overarching to this, I am Ronaldo tinted glasses. They actually say Ronaldo on the side. No, they don't. Ralph Lauren. I thought didn't know they were Ralph Lauren. Oh. But I drive a Seat Ateca, so you know I'm a man of the people. But the point is, a lot of people always ask me what car I drive. That's the car I'm driving on. Driving with Goldbridge, which is out at midday. I am a massive Ronaldo fan. I don't lie about that. I will always put Ronaldo ahead of Messi. Because I witnessed Manchester United with Ronaldo. So I'm a massive Ronaldo fan. But even I will say, when reading some of these new quotes, that Ronaldo is moving further away from football and more into a different world where he needs to maintain this aura. I think I'm quite reasonably good at reading people. I don't know about you. I'm reasonably good at, when I listen to somebody, I know what their motive is. Sometimes it's bloody obvious. You know, there's almost, when people slag off the United stand, it's almost like they've got the checklist of, nonsense. But, you know, they're very easy to read. It's bitter, it's jealousy, whatever you want to call it. But I think I'm quite good at reading people anyway, in general, and what their motives are. And I think that with Cristiano Ronaldo, I doubt he's ever had a sip of beer. You know, I think he's absolutely relentlessly focused on him. That is 100% egotistical. You may as well call it what it is. I'm absolutely in awe of this guy as to how he can keep his body in that shape for so long. And the longevity that's given him in his career is undoubted. He is a specimen in elite performance and must be studied for years to come, and hopefully will be, because from a sports science perspective and a mentality perspective, it defies logic. It is unbelievable. And I don't think he will get the credit he probably deserves until he actually does retire, because he's an Adonis in relation to his physicality and his mentality. But to be that, there has to be an element of selfishness. There has to be. You've got to be, I'm the best every single day. And you know, I'm eating this. It's just 100%. There has to be an ego to go with that. Of course there does. The best actors have it. You've got to have it. And people see ego as a bad thing, but I think Cristiano Ronaldo is ego. Of course it is. Of course it is. Also, he's been surrounded by people telling him how great he is for years. So there has to be an ego to carry that responsibility and talent. And therefore, what we almost must remember is when Ronaldo talks, look at that Piers Morgan interview. That wasn't an open book interview. I don't think Ronaldo sits himself down ever and does an open book interview. I don't think he ever will. This is a PR machine of well-oiled proportion. So everything he says, everything he does will be scrutinised as much as his body is and what he eats, because everything has got to be absolutely perfect. Look, Ronaldo's got stories, skeletons that people never mention. And you know, we know some of the problems that why? I mean, what's going to happen with the World Cup in America? We don't know, because apparently he can't go to America. So there is stuff out there, but it's never going to really be brought into the mainstream or a conversation from Ronaldo himself, because that sort of stuff is, you know, anything negative is not going to be mentioned, quite rightly. But the reason I'm saying all this is because everything Ronaldo says will be to enhance brand or team or Ronaldo. I don't think there's ever going to be any self-reflection of I did this wrong or this was my fault. So as a massive fan of Ronaldo, what I would say is when I read these comments is that in my mind, I'm always like, I'm never going to get any self-reflection. I'm never going to get any I was wrong anyway, because that's just not what Ronaldo is. Ronaldo is brilliant at being brilliant. And Ronaldo is brilliant at saying stuff that is going to effectively, enhance himself, isn't it? So I think with regards to that, that's what I would say straight away before we go into any of this. And it sort of feeds in here with this first comment. So Cristiano Ronaldo on his second stint at Manchester United. To prove that I'm right or wrong, this is not my issue anymore. I say what I have to say, and for me, it's done. However, to be honest with you, I wish for Manchester United, it's what I wish the best they can make. Again, the best team they can, and I love that club. I'm not that kind of guy that forgets the past. When I'm back there, I was very happy. This is what I'm talking about. When I was back there, I was very happy. I was one of the best scorers. I did unbelievable things with the club. My first season, I was 37. I was the third best scorer in the league. I scored all of the group stage. I scored every game, even in the league. I scored 17 goals or 18 goals in the Premier League. I did amazing. And he did. He did. And I always say this. I always say that... that I'm absolutely stunned about what Ronaldo did, getting 18 goals in what for me was the worst ever United Premier League side I've ever seen. But he says I was brilliant, I did amazing, because that's Ronaldo's mentality. There's no point pretending that Ronaldo isn't focused on being brilliant himself and then giving him the praise for it, because that's the mentality that he has. He goes on to say, but as I told you, Manchester United, they need to rebuild everything, in my opinion. He goes on to say the club needs time to rebuild because it's still one of the best clubs in the world, but they need to change. They understand that this is the only way. The hierarchy, they start to change again. The structure of the club, the president, the infrastructures and everything. The owners of the club, they're investing in the training ground. So I'm happy because things are changing. I believe that the future will be bright. I believe, but they don't depend on only young talents. It's more than that. It's all club, not only players. Club, everything as a unit, united. He said also that, well, we spoke about the Van Nistelrooy stuff as well. He says you cannot rebuild a club without knowledge. Not guys who work in the office. They understand. I understand. I understand a lot of football because I see football in the television every day. No, this is not. Doesn't work like that. The people who understand the football, it was 99% is the people who was there in the dressing room, who was a player, who was the most successful coaches in the world. He says, Guardiola, Ferguson, they were players before. They were in the dressing room. They understand. They know how to deal with the players. It's the people who understand these things. And I believe that Ruud is going to help because he was inside the club and he knows the club. So look, I mean, that's pretty much all the extra stuff that's come out from Ronaldo. Look, obviously, he is a Man United legend and he loves the club. And when he talks about the structure and the training ground and the facilities, he's absolutely correct. There is no doubt about that. Ralf Rangnick was saying this 6 months before Ronaldo's interview, by the way. Ronaldo didn't come up with the idea that Man United need to rebuild the football club from top to bottom. Ronaldo didn't come up with the idea that we need new training facilities and a structure around the manager. Ralf Rangnick was talking about this 6 months before. So what Ronaldo's saying is right, but he's not the first person to say it. And I know many of you have been saying it for about the last 7 years. So look, he's only reflecting what is absolutely obvious that needs to be done, but the Glazers refused to do it. So yeah, he's absolutely correct. The only thing I would disagree with him on is this: you need to have been in the dressing room. You need to know about the club. I don't agree with this. I think it reminds me a lot of I suppose it reminds me a lot of what we get rammed down our throat on a Saturday night when you're watching Match of the Day and you're listening to people like Lineker and Shearer who almost treat you like kids, and they're the teacher, and you've got to listen to them because they've played the game. Well, it doesn't work. Football is not difficult. It's really not difficult. It's aspirational football. Any of you of a certain age could end up being the next Alan Shearer or the next Gary Lineker. It's about talent. It's about drive. It's about being good enough, which is very different to being able to sit and analyse a game of football or talk about a game of football or coach a game of football. And that is why when Ronaldo says Ferguson and Guardiola have played the game, Ferguson's career is very different to Guardiola's career. Guardiola played at the very, very highest level with Barcelona. Sir Alex Ferguson didn't play at the very highest level. Brian Clough was injured in his mid-20s and went into coaching and was brilliant at Derby and Leeds and Forest. And Arsene Wenger played very, very amateur football from what I remember and dominated the Premier League and went toe-to-toe with Sir Alex with Arsenal. Jose Mourinho, one of the greatest managers there has ever been, has, proven that you don't need to play football at the highest level. In fact, Jose Mourinho was just an interpreter for Sir Bobby Robson at Barcelona. That's how it all started for him. So, yeah, it's Shawnee Devil says still played the game though, mate. But mate, I don't know how your brain works, mate. But you're not listening, are you? The difference between low-level football in Portugal and France compared to low-level football in England, compared to, football of an amateur level, is not really that different. Like, I don't know what you think people are doing when they're playing non-league football in England or second division football in England or Saturday afternoon football in England. All that's different is the speed of it and the quality of it. But it's not like night and day. It's still 11 against 11. There are still tactics. There are still good coaches and bad coaches. There's still 2 goals, still 1 ball. There's still a referee. This is what I mean. I think people are still living off, I've played the game. And football has changed massively. Absolutely massively. There is no domination of football now from the fact that you've played the game at the highest level. Paul Gascoigne is the best player I've ever seen play for England. I wouldn't trust him with a bag of onions. I really wouldn't, because the genius is in the feet, it's not in the brains. If all these ex-players are so good, name me one person who's played for Sir Alex Ferguson in 30 years who's gone on to be a top-level coach. Because really, this should be all over the place. Should be managing all over the Liga, all over the French League, all over the Premier League, all over the world, and they're not. They're not, because ultimately, my bigger point is, if this is some sort of thing that you've got to have played the game at the highest level to be a manager of Man United, it's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. You need to get the best in class. That is what you need to get. You need to go and get the best in class. And the best in class isn't always somebody that's won things with Manchester United. You are operating in a very small pond if you are only going to take people who've played the game for Manchester United and won things. Ruud van Nistelrooy is very interesting because what he did at PSV was decent, and he's played for Man United. So, that's something that I'm quite excited about. But, should we give David May a job because he was part of the 99 team? He wouldn't go anywhere near him. I'd rather give it to Brian May. So this is what I mean. Like, we can't be closed off in, you've got to have played the game and you've got to have played for Man United and you've got to have won things and you can be part of the rebuild. I disagree with that. I think you've got to, if you want to be the best, you got to fish in the ocean and catch the best fish. Don't go in the pond because there might not be good fish in it. Ranić said it best. But look, you know what? Just before I say yours, boys, this might be a thin. I don't know. It's very unfair to assume something about a comment that can be completely taken out of context. Ronaldo obviously feels that Man United should be listening to players from the past on how to rebuild the football club. I disagree. I love Ronaldo, but I disagree. I've said that so many times. And if I sat here and went, I agree with Ronaldo, I really like Ronaldo, so I agree with Ronaldo that our way to success is to listen to the legends from the past, I'd be clipped up in no time from me not saying that to now saying that. So I'm not going to change my opinion just because it's Ronaldo. But of course, it could be a thinly veiled dig at Ten Hag, who didn't play football at the highest level. He did play football. It could be a thinly veiled shot at Ranić, who didn't play football at the highest level as well. So, look, Ronaldo might be saying that because he's taken a shot at Rangnick and Ten Hag. But the mic drop, and I won't do it because apparently you've got to be under 25. The mic drop is that Ronaldo was bought to the football club not by Ten Hag, not by Rangnick. He was bought by Solskjaer. Solskjaer was sacked within 3 months of Ronaldo coming to the football club. Solskjaer is one of the biggest legends the club's ever had. So my follow-up question to Ronaldo would be, and obviously Rio's never going to ask it and Piers Morgan's never going to ask it because you're not allowed to ask a follow-up question that's not been briefed. I would have said, it's an interesting point you're saying that, and I suppose, things didn't go well with you for Ten Hag, but you were bought by Solskjaer. He's an ex-legend of the club who knows the club like the back of his hand, and he was sacked within 3 months of you coming in. So he knew the club and it didn't work. So what went wrong there? The difference between amateur and professional football is that some are exceptionally gifted with their feet. You don't need high IQ like in chess, says Abhijit. Rangnick said it best. It was after Ronnie's interview where he bashed the owners and directors that made Glazers put the club up for sale. Bought attention, says Boys. Welcome to Members Club, Gerald. You're an absolute legend. Appreciate that. If Zidane would come, he's the best manager out there. Would bring world-class players to United, says Richard. Where's the money coming from for that, Richard? Is he going to bring $500 million in a suitcase as well? Because United's problem in relation to recruiting the best players in the world is not getting a manager that people that want to come and play for us. I mean, I still think even if we had the worst manager in the world, we can still attract the world's best players. We haven't got the money. So yeah, Zidane would need to bring $500 million with him as well if he wants to sign the world's best players. And who are the world's best players anyway? I mean, we're not getting Jude Bellingham. We're not getting Kylian Mbappe. We're not getting Vinicius Jr. We're not getting Erling Haaland. We're not getting Saka. We're not getting Saliba. We've got to find our own next best things, really. I think the world's best players are unobtainable for any club at the moment. I mean, you think about someone like Ollie Watkins or Alexander Isak. That's going to cost you £100 million each. They're not the world's best players. I think it's very difficult to get hold of the world's best players now in a transfer. I think you've got to. I think the transfer window has changed dramatically in the last 2 years post-COVID. I don't think you can buy the world's best players now unless you are Manchester City or Real Madrid and you've got that huge revenue and success behind you. I think even Arsenal couldn't go and buy Jude Bellingham. Like, where are you going to get the money from to go and buy that one player? I think they're even more unobtainable than they've ever been now. So you've got to be looking at your recruitment. Kai says Neville, Rooney, and Ollie were all bad managers. Says Kai. Look, I've said it before. If I was in charge of Manchester United and I was Sir Jim Radcliffe, I would do pretty much what he's done. I would go out and recruit the best people in each position that is required. And if it's Dan Ashworth, it's Dan Ashworth. If it's Omar Barada, it's Omar Barada. If it's Jason Wilcox, it's Jason Wilcox. I would not go and put Gary Neville as my CEO. I would not go and put Rio Ferdinand as my director of football. I would not go and put Ronnie Johnson as my technical director just because they played the game at Man United. It sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? But is that what people think we should be doing? I just wouldn't do it. I'd rather get John Smith, who's the best technical director in Europe and has never played the game and has never played for Man United. I'd rather go and get Darren Jones from Canada, who's the best CEO in football, living memory. That is what I think you need to do. I think you need to get the very best because that's what evolution is. You can't just keep looking to the past. You can learn things from the past. You can have an identity from the past. You can have a vision from the past. You can have a motto from the past. But you can't go searching for the future by replicating the past because you've got to learn from the past. That's my thoughts. But also you've got to go best in class. We need to focus on signing the next Bellingham, says 56. I agree. I think you've got to find these people. Klopp to United rumours, says Sam. Mate, there's more chance of me managing Liverpool than Klopp managing Manchester United, which means there's absolutely no chance. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We've got my Driving with Goldbridge coming up at midday. Get ready for that. Links in the live chat, and I'll put it in the video description as well when it drops at midday. Ten Hag press conference this afternoon. I think it's around 4. but if it's 2, we'll be live at 2. 8 o'clock show as usual as well tonight. We're getting closer to that game at the weekend. Hopefully, there'll be questions about Ugarte put to Ten Hag, and who knows what he'll say. Hopefully, he'll say, we'll have to wait and see, because if he says he won't be ready, I'm going to throw a chair out the window. Speak to you all later. Take care. Thanks for watching. Absolute legends this morning. And Captain says, so based off this, how do you view Sir Alex Ferguson's involvement in this new United? He's on the board. He could be seen as a problem too. No, just very, very quickly, Sir Alex Ferguson should be listened to, but he shouldn't be followed. I think that's what I would say. Like, I would listen to him and I would take on board a lot of his experience, but I wouldn't follow him in the sense that Sir Alex says, let's do this, let's do this. I think you take bits from people. Ultimately, would you listen to Sir Alex Ferguson in 2024 on how to build a football club to take on Man City? Or would you listen to Omar Barada on how to build a football club to take on Man City, who spent 10 years there? I know the answer to that. It's Omar Barada. Even though Sir Alex Ferguson's the greatest manager that's ever been, if I want to take on Man City in 2024, I've got to listen to Omar Barada because he's been there for the last 10 years and he knows everything that they've done. And Sir Alex hasn't been in management since 2013. And also the question is, would Sir Alex Ferguson at his best be able to deal with today's football? And the question is, we don't know. I'd like to think so, but we've got to live in 2024. I'd be listening to Sir Alex Ferguson on a daily basis because he's a wealth of knowledge and there's so much you can take from him. But we're trying to build something. We're trying to build something relevant in the new world. And the problem we've got is, whatever Sir Alex Ferguson left behind, we wrecked it. We've wrecked it beyond recognition. So anything that Sir Alex left for us isn't here anymore. There is nothing left from what Sir Alex Ferguson left. We've destroyed it over the period of 10 years. So we're starting from the bottom again. I'd be listening to what Sir Alex had to say about the 80s. How did you rebuild United from 86 to 92? I think that's the period, if I was going to listen to Sir Alex, I'd listen to the most, because that's the most relevant period. What he did after 92, we're not even at that stage yet. So I'd want to know 86 to 92, how did you build a club that was basically on its arse? Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Speak to you all in a bit.